Good evening, everybody. It is the first day of September 2025. I'm Nate Eaton. Happy Labor Day. Hope that you didn't have to work too hard today. I've been working all day. It was my turn to work this holiday, but got a lot accomplished and working on some exciting things. I feel like I have project after project after project building. And this is the month when I'll get to share it with you all. I've been working on a long-term investigation all summer long, and I think we're going to be ready for that next week. So I'll have more information a little bit later this week when we're ready to premiere it, but we're going to do a special edition live Courtroom Insider with a guest, and we need your questions during the live show. We're going to have a guest here. I'll talk more about that later. And anyway, I've been working on that this weekend and a couple of other things and something that I'm really excited to share with you in a few weeks. That being said, I thought that I'd come on here tonight because it's been a while since we've had a Courtroom Insider. At least it's felt that way. And there's a lot of exciting things coming up. The main reason, though, I wanted to come on tonight, which before I get to that, let me know where you're watching from, and if you have any questions in the comments below. Would love to hear what you did this Labor Day. This weekend on Saturday, we went down to the Eastern Idaho State Fair, which if you have not been to East Idaho in September, the first week of September, you have to go to the fair. It's different in the fact that all the food vendors are local. Like it is a competition to get a food truck inside that fair. And once you're there, you want to stay there because you make a lot of money, I would imagine, and you serve a lot of good food. A lot of fairs you go and it's just fried this, fried that, which they have some of that here for sure. But it's not the traveling vendors, and the food vendors are so good. So you get to know the locals. And my kids, we went. My son, my youngest, always looks forward to the scone nuggets, which of course I look forward to as well. We had some sweet corn pork nachos, which were delicious. Emmy always goes for the twisted tater, where they drill the potato and then stretch it out on a big stick. What else did we have? We had some drinks. We had the Smashers lemonade is delicious. There's the cheese curds from between the buns. So good. Anyway, we went to the fair on Saturday, and then this morning, Erica took Emmy and some of her friends back to the fair with Everett. So they had a good time, and I was here. And as I was here working on some news, we do have some news to break tonight. This is involving an inmate who was killed in Arizona. An Idaho inmate named Christopher Pendleton, 38 years old. He had just been in prison for about 2 years for sexual abuse charges, sexual abuse of a minor charges. He was convicted of several felonies. 38 years old. Idaho entered into contracts with this special private prison in Arizona, in Eloy, Arizona. So Pendleton was sent down there, and on August 20th, the correctional staff received a report of an inmate who had been beat. And the officers arrived, they called for medical help who arrived, EMS who arrived, and this inmate was beat to death. Or I should say assaulted. I don't know if it was the beating caused his death, but I do know that they said correctional staff immediately began life-saving measures. Medical staff arrived and took over life-saving measures and called for emergency medical help. EMS arrived and continued until he was pronounced dead. They received the call at 8:40 that morning on August 20th for a report of an inmate assault, and then the person, Mr. Pendleton, was pronounced dead at 9:16. Now, we do know the name of the victim here who was beat to death, or who was killed. And now I can report for the first time that the person that did this, according to multiple sources, they tell me that the inmate who beat him to death, killed him, was Pierre Lake. Pierre Lake may sound familiar to you. Pierre Lake is serving 30 years to life in prison for killing Ralph Bryan in Rexburg and attempting to kill Karen Bryan, his wife. We covered this here on Courtroom Insider. This happened back in September of 2021, so 4 years ago this month. The Bryans were asleep when Pierre Lake entered the home. He shot Ralph multiple times. He then stabbed Karen multiple times and left her for dead, left them both for dead. Ralph died a few days later in the hospital. Karen survived miraculously, and then Mr. Pierre Lake was arrested. He was 18 at the time. He served a few years in jail. The trial kept getting postponed because his attorney was Jim Archibald, the prosecutor was Rob Wood, the judge was Stephen Boyce, who were all involved in the Daybell matter. And then Mr. Pierre Lake pleaded guilty to the charge. So he was sentenced back in January of 2024. And then he was moved to this prison in Arizona. And now he is accused, allegedly, of killing this inmate, Christopher Pendleton. Pierre Lake is only 22 years old. It's hard to imagine, somebody so young going through this. A lot of times, in Idaho at least, if an inmate is beat to death or killed by another inmate, they go for death penalty. Arizona has not said anything about this. I reached out to them on Friday trying to get confirmation to multiple agencies. I reached out to IDOC. It's unclear yet if Lake has been charged. I can see them not being in any sort of hurry to charge him as he's already in custody. But how this works in the state of Idaho, a lot of you might be wondering, well, how did he get from Idaho to Arizona? IDOC entered into a contract with the Saguaro, I know I'm saying that wrong, Saguaro Correctional Center because of overcrowding. A company named Core Civic owns Saguaro, and they're paid $28 million a year to house up to 1,200 of Idaho's prisoners. And June of 2023, 427 men were incarcerated at the facility. This is a fairly new type of thing. This started back in 2020. This facility also houses men from Hawaii and one other state. I don't remember the other state. So Lake, as I said, was arrested back in 2021. When he was sentenced, this is kind of the part that's pretty sad to me. He had said a few things to how he hoped when he was locked up that he would be able to get help and that he would be able to transform himself. Here's what Pierre Lake said at his sentencing about a year and a half ago.
First and foremost, Your Honor, I do understand, I'll never really understand what I did take that day. I hope I can get to a point where I do come close to understanding, and there is no excuse for what I did to your family. And I really do hope for one day come close to understanding as you have lost a father, a brother, a husband, a grandfather, and I'll never know how that feels, and I want to say that I'm truly sorry for what I have done, and I do hope that while I'm locked up, that I can get the rehabilitation that I need to change my mindset. And, this is, as my lawyer stated, and so is Mr. Wood, that this is the best thing. If I'm doing these things at 18 years old and younger, it's not a good thing, man. I do need help. I'm just sorry for everyone that's been affected in your family, and his children's life, my children's lives. There's 7 kids now. When I grow up, never not having to know that their father did something like this, and they're not gonna. That hurts me. That hurts me. And knowing that there's 4 kids on there that have now lost their father, that have those memories, that their kids will never get to experience those memories from. And I'll never be able to see my grandkid for the first time. I'll never be able to see those first steps. And I know that I've taken that away from him as well, and his family. And I just want to say that, again, truly I'm sorry for what I've done. I hope one day that I can, after serving my time, come out and be a productive member of society, and hopefully one day be someone that my kids can look at I'll be completely disappointed.
So that is what he had to say at his sentencing, that part where he said, I hope I get to the point where I can come close to understanding. I want to say I'm truly sorry. I hope that while I'm locked up, I can get the rehab I need to change my mindset. And unfortunately, that doesn't appear to be the case. Again, it's allegedly, and these are according to multiple sources, so we hope to, get confirmation on that down the line. It's interesting that Creech, the guy who's on death row in Idaho, the one who they tried to get a vein several times, but they couldn't because of his age, he actually got the death penalty because he went after an inmate and killed an inmate many years ago. That he was in jail for something else, and that's what happened. So all executions in Idaho are on hold, at least until next year, while the state builds a facility to do firing squad executions. Right now, the drug that was used in the execution, there's issues with that, legal issues, and of course there was an issue getting a vein with Thomas Creech. And so the state has put all executions on hold until at least next year, and then we'll see where that goes. So it's very possible that these people who are on death row, once their appeals are done and exhausted, they will go through and be executed by firing squad. So there is that news to share. I wanted to touch on a couple of other cases tonight. Many of you have messaged me. They've kind of been in the news. We won't spend long on these. I debated even talking about this, but it's been in the news. ISP released a bunch of photos from Bryan Kohberger's Washington apartment in Pullman. These are not the crime scene photos, but these are kind of interesting to me. I'm not going to go through all of them. I know it's been reported elsewhere. Maybe you haven't seen them. Maybe you don't find this sort of stuff interesting. I always do. I mean, a year ago, I went through Chad Daybell's home after new owners bought it and Chad's kids left and it was empty. A couple days before they were going to tear it down, the new owners invited me to go through it. Originally, I'm like, no, I don't really think I want to. And then I did with my wife, and it was creepy, especially up in the Cozy Cone area where Chad was. So I get kind of the fascination with some of these things. And with Bryan Kohberger, you can see just how spotless his house was. We know he's a clean freak. He's obsessed with being clean and against germs and stuff like that. This was a shot of the front room with the couch. There are several books here, including social and health sciences. There's Charge. There's crime books. Rise of the Warrior Cop, America's Safest City, Let the Lord Sort Them. We've also got some other ones that are here, A Trial by Jury. So he clearly was interested in this sort of stuff. We know that because he was a criminology student. Here's a letter that was found in the apartment from Washington State University, and it talks about him. It's kind of blurry, but meeting weekly. It was an improvement plan for him. November 2nd, 2022. So this was 2 weeks before the murders. Meet weekly with the supervisor at established meeting times. Keep track of weekly hours and provide report to your supervisor. Establish weekly goals with supervisor and discuss whether previous week's goals are met, and make sure weekly goals are progressing to ensure progress throughout the rest of the semester. I listened or read about an interview that he did with one of his professors who was like very, very, very concerned about Kohberger and basically didn't want him in the program and said, if anything happens to anybody, it's going to be this dude. Something's wrong with him. And clearly we know now that there was. Here's his kitchen. Again, very clean. This apartment was apparently on the second floor of a student housing complex. We have the closet here, and his shorts hanging up there with hangers. And then we have the glove that was found in there. And then we have this, I jumped ahead to one slide. This was apparently in Kohberger's office. He had an office. I was trying to get clarity on exactly where it was. This was not his apartment, but there was a photo of his office, I believe, on campus that he was studying at. And this said, "Take it easy, don't give up." Now, it's unclear who wrote this, and it's unclear what's redacted there with those black squares, what was written behind there. But interesting little tidbit there. There was a glove that obviously police found that they thought was very important for evidence, one glove with the number 1, receipts to Marshalls and Walmart, including a tag for some Dickies clothing, it looks like, underneath that Walmart receipt. I can't read those receipts, what was on there. Obviously, police try to put together anything that the suspects may have bought in the last few hours. Here's his vacuum cleaner, and, Casey vacuumed stuffed up and cleaned it. They said that his car was meticulous, even between the cracks where things fall. There was nothing there. Then his freezer, which is interesting a little bit to see, cauliflower crust, pizza bowls, vegetables. Looks like there's taters, some other vegetable items. He was vegetarian, and so you can see why these things would be in there. So there's the photos. Obviously, it kind of gives us a little bit more insight into Bryan Kohberger, and I know many of you are over it, and I can understand your sentiment that you're like, enough. He's behind bars in prison. This information's coming out little by little by little, and the argument is it newsworthy, is it not? I just wanted to show you that. The part that is interesting to me that is newsworthy is what happened just a few days ago when there was a court hearing over the crime scene photos, which are different than these photos. The crime scene photos that were released by the city of Moscow after a news outlet in Boise asked for them and aired them on television and put them on their website. Well, from there, a few of them, I should say, and they were blurred. They were not like full-on graphic. But other websites that I won't name published all of them, most of them, sensational ones, the graphic ones. And after that, Ethan Chapin and Madison Mogen's families asked a judge to not release these anymore. So the city of Moscow said, hold up, we're going to pause any requests for these photos. We're going to put a pause on it. And there was a hearing just a few days ago over whether these photos should continue to be sealed or whether they should be able to be released to the public. Ethan Chapin's mother wrote, Stacy, they are heartbreaking and continue to open a wound that has yet to heal about the photos. The criminal case, of course, has garnered worldwide attention. After Kohberger's sentencing, there was one request about the photos. They blurred out the bodies of the slain students when they released them, as well as faces and other victims, but they still ended up being published on outlets with the blurs. An attorney representing the family of Mogen and Chapin told Judge Megan Marshall that blurring was ineffective, that the blood should have also been hidden from public view. He said blurring is not redacted. He asked the judge to carefully consider Stacy Chapin's statement. This was all in a hearing last Thursday, describing how incredibly harmful and emotionally damaging it is for her to see images of her sons and other victims. They're in there. They're just blurred. They're harder to see. Images like this are disseminated within an instant worldwide. This true crime sort of industry that uses this stuff for economic gain and misuses it. The city said, we agree, we don't want to release these things, but we legally have to because there's public records laws. So they're asking the judge for guidance, and the judge will rule. And the judge said she's going to consider both sides and issue a ruling later on. So that's where it stands on those records being sealed and if more will be released. And we'll continue to, see where that goes. Now, last week I had on the sheriff, Judge Mike Morrison. He was he's leading the investigation into the disappearance of Travis Decker. We, the very next day, learned some news that I reported on my Facebook page, but I haven't reported to you here on Courtroom Insider. During that search, remember how Sheriff Morrison talked about how the FBI was coming in and they were doing an extensive search of the area where Travis Decker might be hitting? I'll back up a little bit for those that aren't familiar with the story. This is the man accused of, in early June, picking up his 3 adorable daughters, Peyton and Evelyn and Olivia, 9, 8, and 5, and killing them, putting plastic bags over their heads, leaving their bodies to be discovered, and he disappeared. Police have found his truck. They have not found him. He's been on the run since early June. And this is in Washington State. And Sheriff Morrison talked about the extensive resources that have gone into this investigation, including a big search last week with the FBI coming in and scouring the areas around the Rock Island campground. So this happened. They did a 2-day grid search last week. Nearly 100 personnel members, including specialty search teams, took part in the search. And then the sheriff and the FBI confirmed that there were bones found during the grid search of the 100 personnel. It's inconclusive at this time as to whether they're animal or human, so the bones were sent off to the Central Washington University Anthropology Department. FBI Special Agent in charge, Mike Harrington, said in a news release that, quote, potential evidence had been found. He said search personnel recovered several items that are being examined to determine if they're related to the investigation. Final results will take some time. Finding this potential evidence emphasizes the value in having various teams search in multiple areas, especially in such challenging conditions. Decker is wanted on 3 counts of murder, first degree, and 3 counts of kidnapping. The girls' bodies were first found in his truck on June 2nd. There is a reward being offered, $20,000 for information that leads to his arrest. Now, many of us hope that these bones are his, and then we know, okay, he's deceased. I would not be shocked, though, if they're animal bones. I know that in the Dior Coons case, bones have been found at that campground multiple times over the years, and they're tested. They've been sent to the anthropology department. Photos have been taken. They've been analyzed. One bone was sent out to Quantico, the FBI in Virginia, all animal. It's not uncommon to have dead animals in the forest and near campgrounds. So I'm not saying that they are. Maybe they are not. Maybe they are human. But we'll see. We'll see what they say. And sometimes it can take some time before they're identified. Meanwhile, it is getting colder. It is going to be getting colder up there, and there will be a lot of snow. And so if Travis Decker has not packed bags and bags of gear, snow gear and whatnot, then there could be trouble. And if you missed my interview with Sheriff Morrison, go back and watch it. He doesn't think that this guy is the smartest guy. Sure, he's done wilderness survival stuff. He's been in the military. He's, experienced within that aspect of things. But to go and live off the grid for months and months and months, you're going to run out of food. You're going to run out of money. And he's been out there now over 3 months. So I'm interested. Do you think he's alive? Do you think he's dead? Do you think he is somewhere? Do you hope he's alive? A lot of people hope he's alive so he can be brought before a judge and face justice, and many people hope he's dead. They don't want him here. They think that what he did was horrific. What he allegedly did, I should say, is horrific, and that he, good riddance if he's gone. So I'd love to hear what you think about this, and what your thoughts. Okay, let's move on to baby Emmanuel. This is another fascinating case we haven't really touched on Courtroom Insider. I've been posting the updates on my Facebook page. I wish I had news to say that the baby had been found. He has not. Let me go back to August 14th. This is when a baby in California was reported missing by his mother, baby Emmanuel. Rebecca Haro, 41, says that her baby was kidnapped after she was attacked in the parking lot of a Big Five Sporting Goods. There are no cameras that caught anything in that parking lot or outside. Excuse me. According to the mother, she and the baby were there in the area for another son's youth soccer competition. Before the alleged attack, she said she was assaulted from behind while changing her son's diaper. Quote, I noticed a smell from my baby, so I wanted to change him before going into the store. I took him out of the car seat and I laid him on the chair. I had his diapers right there and someone said, hola. I turned around and I don't remember nothing. I got up from the floor and didn't see my child. Someone took him from me. 2 days later, that was August 14th. Let me see what day of the week that was. That was on a Thursday. On Saturday, the 16th, police say, San Bernardino Sheriff's Department says they can't rule out foul play in the infant's disappearance. The sheriff's deputies said Rebecca presented inconsistencies in her initial statement and declined to continue with the interview. She, along with Emmanuel's father, 32-year-old Jake Haro, were interviewed by law enforcement as part of the investigation. The next day, on that Sunday, August 17th, a toddler in the home is taken into protective custody, a 2-year-old sibling, by Riverside County Child Protective Services. As the case continued, we learned more and more about Jake, the dad's criminal history. In 2021, he was convicted of cruelty to a child, and in 2024, just last year, he was convicted of being a felon in possession of a handgun. Guy does not have the clearest record. An arrest warrant for Jake was filed in the child cruelty case involving a baby girl. Authorities responded to his home after the girl was admitted to the hospital with multiple broken bones. According to court documents, he told investigators that he accidentally dropped the child on a sink as he was bathing her. Doctors reported rib and skull fractures and a brain hemorrhage, according to the court documents. As investigators spoke with the father in connection to the baby's case, community members gathered in the parking lot of the Big Five sporting goods store where the baby was reportedly kidnapped and held a vigil for him with candles in hand. There's more on that child cruelty case. You can go research it, but the original one that I don't know how he could have ever had access to children after that horrible case. So fast forward to August 20th. The infant's father, Jake's vehicle, is seized by detectives. They don't say why they took the vehicle. Additionally, they receive reports from people who say the baby was spotted in Kern County. The police said, "We know the community is deeply concerned about the case. We will continue to provide information to the extent it does not jeopardize the investigation. Our investigators have followed up on the reported sightings of 7-month-old Emmanuel Haro, but he has not yet been located." So those reports were not accurate. While Emmanuel's father has retained an attorney, if the parents choose to work with detectives, we welcome their cooperation. 2 days later, August 22nd, the parents are arrested on suspicion of murder at their home. I posted the video that the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department released. Here is some of it. They showed up. You can see it's a very rural area. They showed up. They took them into custody and took them to jail. And in a statement, the Sheriff's Department said, during the investigation thus far, numerous interviews have been conducted, search warrants have been served, digital and electronic evidence have been collected and closely analyzed. Based on the evidence, investigators determined a kidnapping did not occur. It is believed Emmanuel is deceased, and search to recover his remains are ongoing. So the next day, or 2 days later, Jake joins investigators searching for the child near the 60 freeway. And this is where a lot of you and a lot of others are saying, oh, he told the cops where his child was. We don't know the specifics about that, other than investigators carried out a search for the remains of the infant. They did say they believed he was dead at this point. They combed the westbound shoulder of the 60 freeway in Moreno Valley near Gilman Springs Road. Cadaver dogs were brought in. Jake was seen in an orange jumpsuit working with the investigators. The day after that, August 26th, the parents are charged with murder and making a false report to law enforcement. The parents were supposed to be arraigned that same day, but it was moved off to September 4th, so that'll be here coming up on Thursday. And then on the 27th, so just a few days ago, baby Emmanuel was described as a victim of child abuse over time who eventually succumbed to those injuries. That was announced by the Riverside County District Attorney Mike Hestron. Hestron was joined by Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco and San Bernardino County Sheriff Shannon Dykes in a press conference to update on the case. The sheriff doubled down on his beliefs that the parents fabricated the kidnapping report. He said, forensically, there are a number of things we are able to prove. There is a tremendous amount of evidence that suggests the initial story posed was not correct. He said law enforcement has a pretty strong indication of where the remains of the baby are. But as of tonight, no baby. So that is a synopsis of the baby Emmanuel case in California, and I'll continue to be posting updates, and hopefully they can just find that child soon. And it's just such a horrible, horrible case. So those are a few of the true crime cases that we're following, and we have a lot coming up in the next few weeks. As I said, a lot of special programming here we're going to do on Courtroom Insider, especially with CrimeCon coming up in just a few days. And I got to show my newspapers.com shirt there. They have the most comfortable shirts. They're going to be at CrimeCon. They are our sponsor of Courtroom Insider, and they have been such a good support. Newspapers.com, you can go check it out. Now maybe that the kids are back in school, go spend some time doing a deep dive on newspapers.com. You get a 7-day free trial when you sign up, and then you can go back and research anything. People have found out stories about their family members, about their neighbors, about their friends. They've looked up true crime stories in the past. And newspapers.com is going to have a booth at CrimeCon, so we're going to stop by and visit with them and thank them for their support. And if you're going to CrimeCon, please stop by and thank them. To tell them that you appreciate them sponsoring Courtroom Insider. They've been a great asset and a great resource to us here at EastIdahoNews.com. And speaking of CrimeCon, I hope that you all will be there. We're going to have a great time. I'm looking forward to seeing so many of you, to seeing so many of the presenters. I will be presenting with Colby Ryan and Ray Hermosillo on Friday. I got to pull up the schedule here. Here we go. A lot of good people are going to be there this year. So there's a kickoff party the night before. I'll grab a drink here. And then there's a session on Luigi Mangione, active shooter response. What would you do? Chris Hansen's going to be there. Have a seat. There's Bone Valley, which an incredible podcast. Leo Schofield's Road to Exoneration. I'm hoping to catch up with him. There's When Devotion Turns Deadly. Joseph Scott Morgan's going to be there. Law and Crime. Jesse Weber is going to be there. Aaron Moriarty from 48 Hours, a 15-year-old killer inside the Daniel Marsh murders. The Delphi investigation with Susan Hendricks. Fatal Attraction, I'd Kill to Be You. How to Think Like a Predator to Protect Like a Pro. We've got Crime-Fighting Canines, the Daybell case, inside the investigation of the family torn apart. Me, Colby Ryan, and Ray Hermosillo. That's at 4 o'clock Mountain Time on Friday. So come to our session, and then right after, we're doing a meet and greet. And you can come and talk to me and talk with Colby and Detective Hermosillo. It'll be great. We also have the behavior panel, Scott Rouse, or the behavior pair, they're calling it. The whole panel can't be there, and Greg Hartley. So I can't wait to meet up with Scott. I had him on here a few weeks ago, and I know many of you liked that interview, so I'm going to go chat with him. And then we've got the Court TV. I'm going to be on Court TV while we're there. ABC News is doing a case against Diddy. Jean-Benet Ramsey. John Ramsey's going to be there. Groomed by Their God inside the FLDS by Mike King. There's also more on the Delphi case. John Ramsey again. The tragedy in Idaho. Stacy Chapin, Ethan's mother, will be there. The prosecution of Susan Smith. Tommy Pope. I'm excited to hear that one. Josh Mankiewicz and Blaine Alexander from Dateline will be there. And then we have, sorry, I won't read them all to you, John Walsh, Murdoch to the Murdoch case. And then we have the Scott Kimball case. And then Trial by Ambush with Marsha Clark. I will be chatting with Miss Marsha. She was on here. Miss Clark, I should say. She was on here, and that one's going to be an interesting panel to have her here with us. Stolen Babies. How do you find someone who doesn't know they are missing? Interesting. And also the Colorado dentist, James Craig. 48 Hours post-mortem with Anne-Marie Green and Natalie Morales from 48 Hours. We have On Patrol live. We've got Brian Enton is going to be presenting there from News Nation. A Mother's Mission, how a group of relentless moms cracked an Oregon serial killer case, along with a bunch of other ones. It's just going to be the best. So, Hot Bench Live. Beth Karras is going to be there, and Cheryl McCollum. All of these. All of them. So come, say hi. You can still get a ticket if you're in the Colorado area, or you can get away for the weekend. I know if you're like in Utah or Idaho, there's a bunch of direct flights that are cheap. And lodging might be a challenge, but everything's pretty close there to the airport. Use the promo code EATON, E-A-T-O-N, and you can get 10% off your CrimeCon standard badge if you want. And come and say hi. Okay, let me go through some questions. Many of you sent in questions, and I've been compiling them, and I figured, hey, why not spend Labor Day answering your questions and getting these taken care of? So, first, what is the latest with Lori Daybell? Doesn't she have one more hearing for restitution, and how would that even work? She has no money. Good question. That's from Reba. If it's Reba McIntyre, hi, Reba. I don't think it is, but good question. Good name. Lori does have one more hearing for Arizona, and that is on September 19th. The judge needs to set restitution, so that's in about 3 weeks, and Judge Boreski. And once he does that, no, she doesn't have any money. But should she ever, and he said this at the sentencing, should she ever make a lot of money from a docuseries or a book or something like that, then she would need to give some of that money over. And should she ever, I believe in Arizona, and I don't know if in Idaho, I'm going to find this out this week because I'm going to be spending some time with IDOC, Idaho Department of Correction. I believe that if money is sent to her for commissary, they withhold a small portion, and that is put toward restitution. That's what they do in Arizona. I need to find out if they do that in Idaho. So that will go to some fund, but no, it's not like she's ever going to pay back $2 million per person. The interesting thing to me is, it's likely she'll waive appearing in person. She might appear via Zoom. Knowing her, she probably will want to. And the judge said, I'm not going to have you, brought back here for one hearing, extradited back from, could you imagine if they bring her back again to Arizona, that she'd be back in her favorite jail and then turned around and brought back? No, she's not going back, but we'll see what happens there. Good question. Nate, have you heard anything from Lori since she arrived in Idaho? Actually, I have. I got a short message from her, and it was very short. And it was we had communicated once after my interview, once or twice, and it was quite short. She got in trouble, the whole Eminem fiasco, which I'm sure you've heard about. I believe I talked about it here. And then she wrote me later saying she didn't know when she was moving to Idaho, but she thought it was soon. And she just told me that she arrived in Idaho. That was back on the 22nd of August. So that's all I've heard from her. It's not like we're communicating daily, and I don't know it. It'd be fascinating if one day there are a lot of inmates. I know journalists well-known journalists that have covered cases that often killers, murderers will keep in touch with them, and they just need someone to talk to, I guess, someone they feel they can trust. And sometimes they go on to confess stuff, or you get more of the story. So would I cut off Lori 100%? No, I wouldn't. I know many of you are like, enough with her. I'm not going to report everything she tells me. But imagine if in 2 years she starts to really talk. Yeah, this is what happened. Now, the question is, do you believe her? I don't know. But, I don't know. I don't know what happens with her. I'm not on any boats, though. I was at the state fair on Saturday, and one of you guys, a guy there, was like, thanks for not getting on the boat. I said, I have no boats. I didn't even go boating this summer. Is there anything new with Amy Bradley? Oh, I wish. When sex slaves get a certain age, aren't they past their prime, and could they be killed if she is no use to them? Well, first of all, there's nothing new other than tips continue to come in, and it continues to be watched on Netflix a lot. And I believe you do have a point that they're in the human smuggling arena industry. It's not often that you have older women. It's generally teenage girls into young 20s. And I guess you could age out. I've never thought if they just kill them. But yeah, if she's of no use to them, if she's not making them any money, if she is a sex slave in another country, there's debate on that. Many people think she's dead. Many people think she might be, in another country. I don't know. But I guess it's possible they could kill her. I doubt they're just going to let her walk out of there and she's going to call her mom and say, I'm home. I'm ready to come home. That'd be amazing. It'd be incredible. But then the people that have done this to her are in trouble. So I don't think that they're going to let her go free. But I wish there was some new stuff. I texted with Brad Bradley, her brother, a few days ago, and there's nothing substantial to report. Nate, would you ever interview Chad Daybell? What about Jody Hildebrandt and Ruby Franke? Yes, yes, and yes. I'd interview them all. I'd love to talk with them and see what they have to say. I probably should reach out to Chad Daybell again. I don't know if he'll take my messages. He has yet to ever respond to anything I've requested. Neither, same with his attorney. Jody Hildebrandt and Ruby Franke, that would be a fascinating conversation. I don't know if they'll ever do an interview. Maybe they will. Maybe they will, and I don't know if it'd be with a journalist. It could be with a psychiatrist or something that has a YouTube channel. I mean, I'm not really sure. But yeah, I'd be interested in talking with all of them. Is there a way to watch CrimeCon online? What will you be doing at CrimeCon? And is there anyone you are excited to see? Oh, good question. That's from Julie Banks. Julie, are you going to CrimeCon? I will be doing a lot. Not a lot, but I will be doing those sessions that I talked about a second ago. I'll be presenting an award at the Clue Awards, which is exciting. And there is a way to watch it, but I don't think you can watch it till after the fact. It's not like it streams live, and you can go to Crime HQ, the website that CrimeCon runs, and you do have to pay. It's a membership thing, and maybe they give you a 3 or 4 day trial, but you can watch all the sessions after the fact, or at least most of the sessions, not all of them. Who am I excited to see? Bone Valley. Here's what I'm going to do, you guys. And for those that can't go, I'm going with Erica. And I've done this every year in the past where I do these short interviews with people. But this year I'm going to do it times 10. I'm going to try to interview everybody I can there. People like you that are there, victims, prosecutors, whoever, Nancy Grace, Scott from Behavior Panel, anybody and everybody. And then next Monday, a week from today, we'll do a special Courtroom Insider, and I'll play all the interviews for you. So you'll get a kind of a flavor of who is at CrimeCon, what they say, what we talk to about. So if there's anybody you want me to interview that's on that list, please comment or message me, because I want to know who you want to hear from. And I might not even know them, but you might say, hey, go talk to Joseph Scott Morgan, who I do know. I want to hear from him. So yeah, I'd be interested to hear who you want to hear from at CrimeCon. Okay, Nate, you mentioned a few weeks ago about your twinkle bed, but I never heard if you liked it. I'm thinking about getting one, but I'm not sure. Are they doing anything special for Labor Day? Do your kids like them? Thank you. I've had more comments about my mattress. Yes, my kids love them. We love it. For those, some backup, because many of you are new here. I wrote a Facebook post several months ago how we needed a new mattress, Erica and I, and we bought one from a higher end store and got it, and it was awful, and we spent like $2,000 on it, because you mattresses can be expensive or they can be super cheap. We've gone the super cheap route. In fact, in our marriage we've probably had 10 different mattresses, and Erica has a back issue, and I'm getting old, and so we got this mattress. It was so bad, we slept on it like 3 nights. I said, we got to take it back. Luckily they let us return it. And then we went back to our old mattress, sleeping in our front room, because we sold our bed frame. It's a long story. I wrote about this on my Facebook page, and Twinkle Beds in Bountiful, Utah reached out and said, we want to take care of you and your wife. As a thank you, we want to give you a mattress. And I'm like, no, you can't do that. And they're like, no, we insist. They're big fans of Courtroom Insider. They might be watching right now. Very kind. I said, you do not have to do this. I'll buy the mattress. They said, nope, we want to give it to you. So I couldn't get down to the store for quite some time. I was going to Arizona for the trials. On the way home from the first trial with Lori, I stopped by their store. I go inside. I try out the mattresses. I told them the one I wanted just there and said, Erica, hope you like it. Actually, we compromised because I like a firm mattress. She likes the soft mattress. Anyway, I'm telling you way too much about our mattress. It arrives. We set it up. Amazing. Incredible, incredible mattress. And they're like, because we like Courtroom Insider so much, do you want a promo code for your viewing audience? And I said, sure. So they gave me the code Nate, 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 N-I-T-E, N-I-T-E, N-A-T-E. Easy to remember, Nate, Nate. What my mom always says to me. Nate, Nate, when I go to bed. Then they sent my kids' beds. Or our kids actually went in and they were able to try out the beds. And here's the craziest thing. I'm like, you kids, choose, don't go crazy. Elliot, our 7-year-old, chooses the nicest mattress in there. Well, not one of the topper lines, and the rest of us, anyway, he's got the nicest bed in the house. Good for him. He loves it. We all love it. We love all our beds. They're great. He's got the Twinkle Luxe. We've got the Comfort Hybrid. Long story short, we love our mattresses. I would recommend them to you. And you can use that promo code Nate. They are doing a Labor Day thing. You get 30% off. And then you get a free pair of Cozy Earth sheets, which I had never heard of, but Erica had and says they are amazing. We have them now. And it's like you crawl into bed over silk or something. And I guess they were on Oprah's favorite things, probably the only thing I've ever owned that's on Oprah's favorite things list. They're worth like $300 to $500, but you get them for free if you buy a mattress through the 8th. So yes, we love our Twinkle bed. Thank you for asking. I would recommend them. They're a great mattress. Can you tell me, Nate, more about the Kaneko case in Idaho? Oh, I saw a special on Investigation Discovery and had no idea. Do they live near Chad Daybell? Actually, yes. The Kaneko case happened in the early 2000s. A man, David Kaneko, lived with his dead wife and daughter after they starved themselves to death. They lived in a mobile home, a double wide. David Kaneko worked out at INL, really smart scientist, made good money, and lived with their corpses. And they lived in a trailer in the back of, so it was Laura and Lorraine Kaneko. And Lorraine, the mom, her brothers and mom lived in a house in front of the double wide. And they called for a welfare check and police went out there and found the bodies. It was really disgusting. David Kaneko ended up getting charged with I forget what he was charged with. At the time, there was no law on Idaho books that it was a crime if you didn't report a death. Now there is because of this case. So he didn't serve any time, but he died a few years ago. And now a couple of shows have come out about it. I was interviewed probably for the one you saw. But yeah, I covered it back when I was a brand new reporter in 06, 07. Covered his preliminary hearing and all that. So yeah, that's the David Kaneko case. Will you be doing anything on baby Emmanuel? We just talked about it. I'm not going to be going out there to California. We'll see what happens with it. Oh my gosh, my TV screen just went to sleep. Look at that. That's never happened. You saw fireworks. I'll have to adjust that. I realize, by the way, that you might be looking at this thing thinking like, this set looks a little off. I'm at home and we're tweaking it a bit. Jordan, my photographer, is going to be coming over this week and we're going to tweak it so it looks a little bit better. And then eventually like Erica can come in and people like that will have guests. So thanks for putting up with it. Last question. Do you think Travis Decker is alive? That sheriff you interviewed is so dreamy and well-spoken and very handsome. I got to tell you, I got so many requests about the baby, about Travis Decker and the sheriff there, Sheriff Mike Morrison. And many of you ladies like him. He's a very nice guy. Do I believe Travis Decker is alive? I don't. I would be surprised if he was. But he could be. We've seen these things before where people go on and live off the grid, and maybe he is. Maybe he's up in Canada or somewhere. But I personally don't think he is. But we'll see. I hope they find him. All right, everybody. Here's where you can find me. I'm on Facebook. I'm on X. I'm on Insta. And I'm on YouTube. Meeting the Eatons is our family channel. And also you can find East Idaho News. Please go ahead and subscribe if you have not. We appreciate your subscriptions, and that helps us grow and reach more people. Here's the deal for this week. We will have at least one more Courtroom Insider before I head to CrimeCon, probably Wednesday night. Maybe one tomorrow, working on booking a guest. And then at CrimeCon, I'm going to go be there with Erica. We're going to do at least one Courtroom Insider. The schedule's kind of in flux right now at the moment, so I don't have all of the details for you. But we'll see what happens with that. So I want to let you know that that's what's happening. And then next week, Courtroom Insider will do a recap on CrimeCon on Monday, and then we'll have a special report either on Tuesday or Wednesday that I hope you can all watch and keep up on. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you had a great Labor Day. Hope you have a great week. My boys start school tomorrow. Emmy started school last week, so it'll be nice to have everybody back in there, but kind of sad that summer's over. You know, winter's almost here. But that's life, I guess. Have a good night. I'm Nate Eaton.